If you've ever tried to lose weight, you've probably lived through this exact cycle. You start out, you're super motivated, the weight starts coming off, and then it just stops. And before you know it, the pounds are creeping right back on. It is so frustrating, and it happens to almost everyone. But what if I told you the reason for all this has almost nothing to do with your willpower and everything to do with a kind of hidden survival code hardwired into your body? Okay, let's get into it.
Right from the start, we're all given the same advice. Just eat less and move more. I mean, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? But if it were really that easy, we wouldn't be having this conversation. For the vast majority of people, that simple advice turns into this really complex, really demoralizing fight against their own body. So what on earth are we all missing?
Well, the real answer isn't on your plate or in the gym. It's actually much deeper than that, buried in all these automatic, unconscious processes that control how we use energy. See, it turns out our bodies are running on this ancient program, this script that is designed to resist weight loss at all costs. And if we can just understand that script, that's the first step to finally being able to write a different ending.
So, to crack this code, we have to start by looking at what you might call our daily energy budget. When you eat, where do those calories actually go? I think you're going to find the answer is pretty surprising, and it's going to introduce us to this really critical idea that almost nobody talks about.
Okay, so just think about all the calories you burn in a day. The biggest piece of the pie, a huge 60%, is your basal metabolic rate, or BMR. That's just the energy your body needs to, stay alive, keep your heart beating, your lungs breathing. Then you've got about 10% for digesting your food. Those two are pretty much fixed. But that last 30%, the slice for physical activity, that right there is where things get really interesting. Now, when we see physical activity, our brains immediately jump to formal exercise, right? Going for a run, hitting the gym. Scientists even have a name for that, EAT, or exercise activity thermogenesis. But let's be real, for most of us, that's maybe an hour of our day, if we're lucky. The huge, massive majority of that activity slice is something else entirely, something called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And believe me, this is the hidden battleground where long-term weight management is either won or lost.
So what exactly is NEAT? Well, it's pretty much everything else. It's the energy you burn walking to the office, typing on your keyboard, doing the dishes, tapping your foot while you're sitting, all of it. It's basically the energy of just living your life, and its effect on your metabolism is absolutely staggering. And this number really drives home the power of NEAT. Get this. The difference in the amount of calories burned through NEAT between two people of the exact same size can be as much as 2,000 calories a day. No, that is not a typo. 2,000. That means one person's everyday pottering around and fidgeting could literally burn more calories than another person eats in an entire day. And one of the biggest factors in that huge difference? Your job. Someone who works at a desk all day might burn around 700 calories from NEAT, but a retail worker who's on their feet all day, they can easily double that to 1,400. And someone doing physical labor, like a farmer, they can hit 2,000 calories or even more. It's a stark reminder of how much our modern, sedentary lifestyle directly impacts our metabolism.
Okay, so the solution seems pretty obvious then, right? Just move more, increase your NEAT. Well, not so fast. Here's the big twist in our story. The second you start to create a calorie deficit, your body starts to fight back, and it fights dirty. It has this powerful, ancient survival instinct that sees your diet not as a choice for better health, but as a life-threatening famine.
And this powerful defense mechanism has a name: adaptive thermogenesis. The easiest way to think about it is like a thermostat in your house. Your body has a set point, a weight range it's comfortable at. And when you try to drop below that range by dieting, the thermostat kicks in and does everything in its power to drag you back up. How? By making your body way more efficient, so it burns fewer and fewer calories for the same amount of work.
And this is exactly how that frustrating downward spiral starts. You start the diet, you cut your calories. In response, your body slams the brakes on your metabolism. But it also does something sneaky. It subconsciously reduces your NEAT. You just don't feel like pacing or fidgeting as much. Then, when the diet's over, your metabolism stays suppressed. And here is the absolute cruelest part. When you go back to eating the exact same amount of food you ate before the diet, you gain weight and fast. You're literally trapped by your own biology.
Now, if you want a really dramatic, real-world example of this, you just have to look at the contestants from that TV show, The Biggest Loser. A really famous study followed them for 6 years after they'd gone through that massive, super fast weight loss on the show. And what the researchers found was absolutely jaw-dropping. Their metabolisms didn't just slow down temporarily, they slowed down and then they stayed that way for years.
On average, even 6 years after the show, their resting metabolisms were burning 600 fewer calories per day than you would expect for people of their size and body composition. 600! To maintain their new weight, they had to eat significantly less food, forever, than a person of the same size who had never been overweight. It's like their bodies were in a permanent state of rebellion, trying to get back to their highest weight.
So it's clear our biology is putting up one heck of a fight. But that's only half the story. The other half of this battle, the other front in this war, is fought right between our ears. The constant psychological pressure of dieting creates these predictable mental traps that can completely derail even our best intentions. And this is where ideas from psychology, specifically from cognitive therapy, like the stuff in the Beck diet solution, can be a total game changer. The core idea is that success isn't really about the food. It's about training your brain to think differently, to think like a person who can stay at a healthy weight for good. You have to change your thoughts first so you can then change your behavior. Oh, I've already blown it for today. Might as well just start over tomorrow. Or how about, I've had a hard day. I deserve this treat. Any of these sound familiar? I think they do to most of us. And the big insight here is to realize these aren't signs that you're weak. They are just predictable, automatic thoughts that your brain serves up. They're these little stories we tell ourselves that give us permission to get off track. So the strategy is to become a bit of a detective of your own mind. When one of those sabotaging thoughts pops into your head, the goal isn't to fight it or ignore it. It's to catch it, to look at it, and then to challenge it. You reframe it. So instead of "I've blown it," you can practice thinking, okay, that wasn't ideal, but one detour doesn't ruin the whole trip. What's my next good choice? All right, so we've looked at the two big opponents here. You've got a body that's hardwired to fight back with metabolic adaptation, and a brain that can trip you up with these sneaky, unhelpful thoughts. So, knowing all that, how do we actually put together a strategy that works for the long haul?
Well, the first part of the strategy is to gently, and I mean gently, nudge up your NEAT. We are not talking about punishing workouts. We're talking about small, simple ways to engineer a little more movement back into your day. Take the stairs. Pace around when you're on the phone. Stand up and stretch during commercials. Each one seems tiny, but over weeks and months, they add up to a huge number of calories burned without ever sounding that famine alarm in your body.
And the second part is all about making those new healthy habits actually stick. Because it's not enough to know what you should do, you need a system for actually doing it. A great evidence-based way to do this is a framework called STRIPE. It's super logical. You select an activity you actually like, you set a specific target, you reward yourself when you hit it, you identify barriers and plan for them, you plan it in your schedule like an appointment, and then you evaluate your progress. It's a system that builds real, lasting consistency.
And that really is the biggest takeaway from all of this. This whole challenge of weight management isn't won by doing some intense, miserable diet for a few weeks. It's won by creating a lifestyle built on consistent, low-level activity and by learning to master your own mind. It's about finally learning to work with your body's biology instead of constantly fighting against it.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. For so long, we've been taught to think of exercise as this separate thing we have to find time for, something we have to squeeze into our busy lives. But what if the real key isn't finding more time for the gym, but simply finding more movement in the time you already have?